I might well upon you well, Jerusalem. Stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the Sabbath. Barakatha Yahweh Basham Yahweh Asherah Nothing the Noah Hashabbat Bashalawam the water Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it. The Alima Asherah Machal, Psalms 121. Be quiet. Anya Harayam Mayim Ye Oh Harayam Mayan Yabawa Azorye Azorye Yabawa Mayahu Shashat Shemayim Warataze La Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yela Yanawam Shashramarka Hanela Yanawam Wala Yashan Shashramar Yashrale Yahweh Shamaria Yahweh Tazalia Ayo Yad Yim Yim Yah Yawamam Hashamash La Kaya Wayarak La Balayala Yahweh Yashamaria Makab Rai Yashama Napashe Yahweh Yashama Habalakya Wabawaaya My Thad Wa Aid I Walam Basham Yahweh Shef Wada Aman.
Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil, shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, even forevermore.
Amen. Shemaiah Asherah, hero Israel. Shemaiah Asherah, Yahweh, Ahoynawe, Yahweh, Ached. Shemaiah Asherah, Yahweh, Ahoynawe, Yahweh, Ached. Shemai Yashrele Yahweh Eloheinu Yahweh Echad.
Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Tapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abiyanawe Shabbat Shemayim Kodash Hayya Shanka Yahweh Malakwaka Taba'a Ratazawanka Hayya Aisha Barataza Kabashamayim Talanawa Lacham Yawam Zad wasalaknawa kabawatnawa kasalaknawa kabawatnawa wala abiyarnawa oh nasayawan abo hawashinawa marai kayed laka hamalakwa wa ala wa thapara wa walam man.
Matthew 6 and 9. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, our Father which art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts, we forgive our debtors. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Ha'ashara Matazawah, the Ten Commandments. La'ad, Yahayat, La'kad, Alahayim, Acharim, Alpanyat, La'ad, Thaishad, La'kad, Pasod, Wala'ad, Thaibadam, La'ad, Thalakwakath, Shamwad, Yahawad, Alahayakat, Lashawat, Zakab, Ath, Hayawam, Hashabath, Laqadashwad, Kabad, Abiyakad, Wa Amakad, La'ad, Taratazak, La'ad, Tana'at, La'ad, Taganab, La'ad, Tainad, Shakur, La'ad, Takhamad, Ko, Asherat, Lara'ika, Aman.
Exodus 20 and 2. I am the Lord thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy power, am a jealous father, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy power in vain. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work. Thou nor thy son nor thy daughter, thy maidservant, thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is in thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy father giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amen. Yeshua, be seated. Barakateh Hawa by Shimi Hawashai, Asharan Thanawa, Pari Agapan Thuwada Aman. La Hawa by Shimi Hawashai, Ath Yashar Allah. English translation: Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. Amadwa, Panyawa, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakah for Yahweh, Haggadah, Rakawam, Abiyah, Wanawa, Aliyawan, Malak, Shal, Shamayim, Warataza, Wako, Dabarium, Kayayam, Wagam, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Arawanawa, Ahabnawa, Hapalat, Yahweh Aitaza, Yahweh Shai, Zakarnawa, Yahweh, Bartazawan, Aimke Yash Ale Zarnawe Mane was up. Yash Ale O Nanawe Yam Yan Aife Kayawam Yam Makwadam Babakushay Shalak Mike Ale Watazwadak Alahayam La Maganawa Raparnawa Washama Ionawa Bakur Shalak Haroka Shao Yahweh Lanawa Lamadnawa Rabiam Kakama Tabawana Wada Ait Shao the Barka Basham Yahweh the Wada Them Yad Why Walam Maman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel, most high, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us, to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, always and forever, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Natan Lanawa, Hatawarat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Natan Lanawa, Awar, Lara Awath. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Natan Lanawa, Karan, Ha'ayot, La Korah, Ha'aim. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherat, Natan Lanawa, Hasheman, Zayef, Lamashek, Yasha'ala, Yeshabwa. Be seated. All right, so Shalom Yasharella. So Shalom everybody here in the Philly school. Shalom everybody watching us on live stream. And Shalom everyone listening in on teleconference. Welcome to Ha Yasharella Kanas, or the Congregation of Israel, where we teach that the so-called Black, Latin, and Native Americans are indeed the 12 tribes of Israel, and that we fall into a lower state politically, economically, even religiously, because we broke the laws of God found in the Bible, given to us by Moses. And that we come out of this lower state that we fall into by turning back these commandments we broke by following Jesus Christ as our example. One way we do that is by keeping the Sabbath holy. And today, as regularly scheduled, we go through a Sabbath service or a Sabbath reading. Today's reading is going to be 2 Maccabees, chapter 13, and also chapter 14. Once again, 2 Maccabees, chapter 13 and 14 is going to be our reading today. Gospels together. I'll say it again since we went out again. It's kind of like reading Kings and Chronicles together or different Gospels together, where you read both of these stories at the same time, you get the full story. One will cover the detail that the other one doesn't mention, and vice versa. Sometimes they generally are the same. You'll just see it in two different places. One place that may go into this aspect more than the other section. So in your notes, you can link 13 and 2. You can link it with First Maccabees, chapter 6, 14 to 17. It goes into the same detail we're reading here. First Maccabees, chapter 6, verses 14 to 17. Just write down First Maccabees 6, 14 to 17 to link with Second Maccabees 13 and 2. So reading on, First Maccabees 13 and 3, it reads, Menelaus also joined himself with them. With great dissimulation, encouraged Antiochus for the safeguard of the country, not for the safeguard of the country, but because he thought to have been made governor. So we're going to read about those of our people that are trying to jockey for power, using the heathen as leverage, since they were the dominant empire, instead of trusting in the power of the Most High, like Judas knows that with him did. So Menelaus is an example of what you might call today a sellout, right? Really, you call him a sellout anytime, because you see that in scriptures where it talks about certain of our rulers were sold to do mischief, right? When you're that, you sold your soul out. But the only way you keep your soul is by keeping the commandments, following righteousness. Trusting in the Most High is your ultimate backup, not in some alliance you can get from the strangers and putting that above everything else. That's what these men did. So to link with 13 and 3 on Menelaus, you could link up in this same book, because it talks about him as well. Second Maccabees chapter 4, 23 and 24. Second Maccabees chapter 4, 23 and 24. It tells you that he's connected to a man named Simon, but not the same Simon. This is a different Simon, not Simon, Judas's brother, but a wicked Simon who was a sellout too. Simon is a popular name, right? Just like you see the name John a lot, you'll see the name Simon a lot. Really popular in Israel. And then you can write down chapter 4 and verse 1 of Second Maccabees as well, where it tells you Simon is. In connection with Menelaus, and how they were opposed to Judas and his authority, given to him through righteousness. They wanted to, like I said, buddy up with Antiochus and the other Greeks to try to get him out of power, using them and using their army, and then having themselves be placed into a governorship. And in case we didn't know, when it says dissimulation, that word, it just means like feigning or faking it, right? Putting on a facade, right? Pretending that things are one way when it's actually something else. That's what they're doing here. So reading on in verse 4, it says, but the King of Kings moved Antiochus' mind against this wicked wretch. And Lysias informed the king that this man was the cause of all mischief, that the king commanded to bring him unto Berea and to put him to death, as the manner is in that place. So this brother's little machination or plan flipped on his own head, because the Most High, right, to preserve the just, it says that what? He moved Antiochus' mind against this wicked wretch. So no matter how much you want to try to kiss up and side with the heathen, Most High had it to where it was exposed, this guy's intent. And even Lysias backed it up and said, yeah, this guy's been causing problems. You know, we've had a certain league with the Jews, and he's the one that actually has messed that up. And we were actually at times of peace. So it flipped on his own head. When it says the King of Kings, it's talking about the Most High. You can just write down as a link for verse 4. Proverbs chapter 21. Write down Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 1. But Proverbs 21 and 1, it pretty much tells you that the king's heart is in the Most High's hand. The heart is the mind. It says he turneth it whithersoever he will. Right? Mm-hmm. Proverbs 21 and 1. So don't be taken aback by whether it's back then or now. Certain governors, certain rulers, they could have thousands, millions of soldiers at their disposal, all types of wealth and capital. The Most High, these are like little dolls, little playthings for him. He can move around, change around, make him do what he wants. Right? They might have authority or might as far as down here concerning men, but to the Most High, they're just his playthings. They're like beasts of burden to him, especially when they're not found in the way of righteousness. So reading on in verse 5, it says, now there was in that place a tower 50 cubits high, full of ashes, and it had a round instrument which on every side hang down into the ashes. So it's talking about this tower, and it says that there was kind of like a moat. When you cross a bridge to go into like a castle, but it went around. But it had like a pit that went down. It doesn't go into what the instrument was that was at the bottom, but clearly you fell in this thing because it was bad for you. Maybe a spike or something, or spikes, or something down there when you fell, it caught you. So it says, which on every side hang down into the ashes. It might have been a way that they dealt with any bodies that were thrown in there, right? Burn them. And whosoever was condemned of sacrilege or had committed any other grievous crime, there did all men thrust him unto death. This is like a place of execution, right? You go against the law or the rule of law. That's what would happen to you. You get thrown in there. Reading on, it says, verse 7, such a death it happened that wicked man to die. Still talking about this Menelaus. Not having so much as burial in the earth, in that most justly. So a wicked man like this doesn't even deserve a proper burial. That's what the author here is trying to emphasize, because of him trying to what? Overthrow his brethren who are going about things righteously for his own gain. Verse 8, for inasmuch as he had committed many sins about the altar, whose fire and ashes were holy, he received his death in ashes. So a little poetic justice for you. What goes around comes around, right? So same way that he committed sins about the altar, because he's trying to say or trying to establish himself as a priest of the Most High, right? Because we know the Judas and his brethren, they're all entitled to be priests unto the throne. I'm sorry, not the throne, to the temple, right? These men were of that same house, but they didn't walk that walk. They walked the wicked walk, even though they went back to Aaron. And just off of that bloodline alone, they felt that they deserved it. But we know just because you're the house of Aaron doesn't necessarily mean you're fit to be a priest, as these wicked men have shown. So yeah, same way that you have righteous ashes, fire and ashes for offerings that was done, even though they did it wickedly, it says he received his death in ashes. So this shows you that the Most High, he'll bring a judgment upon your own head. He'll bring it right back to you when you don't do what you're supposed to do, when you've been given a certain responsibility. These men are supposed to be righteous priests, not wicked priests that are sellouts. You can link up 13 and 8 with Proverbs as well, but Proverbs 24 and 12 as an example. Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 12, verse 8, where it talks about how the Most High, what? He rendered to every man according to his works. We always laugh at that famous scene, right, Yalkanan, with Saul and Samuel, when Saul went against the Amalekites, didn't utterly destroy them, kept some alive and wanted to make an offering, and he didn't obey the Most High's commandment to destroy him. And then Samuel gave him the judgment from the Lord that he would be removed from king. He preserved the king alive, and then King Agag, he came couching before Samuel, right, saying, hopefully the bitterness of death is past, right? In other words, like, spare me. And then he said, so the same way that you have made women childless, now shall your mother be childless among women. And then he said he slew them there before the Lord, or hewed them in pieces before the Lord there. So we see that things come back around. Or like during the time of Joshua, when dealing with Achan, who took the accursed thing that's supposed to be destroyed from the Canaanites they conquered. He said, why do you trouble us this day? Today the Lord troubled thee. And they put him and his family to death. So you'll see that throughout the scriptures, how things you do will turn on your own head.
So it's 8 for Proverbs what?
24 and 12. He rendereth every man according to his works. Let's learn from his wicked example to not fall into that. This Menelaus. So let's read on in verse 9. Now the king came with a barbarous and haughty mind to do far worse to the Jews than had been done in his father's time. So he's still a youngster, but see that wicked spirit still sown in him. So he wanted to outdo Antiochus IV, which we read in the previous chapters how bad he was, right? Speaking proudly, making bold moves against us, and how the Most High smote him. But now, I guess his son didn't take this to mind. He said, yeah, I'm going to carry forth against the Jews and try to go even above what my dad did. Verse 10, which things, when Judas perceived, he commanded the multitude to call upon the Lord night and day, that if ever at any other time he would now also help them, being at the point to be put from their law, from their country, and from the holy temple. Right? So you see with Judas a constant transaction between him and the Most High, constant prayer, supplication, and those that follow him doing the same. Right? Once the enemy is thwarted, a new one will rise, but that prayer is continual. Right? Because whatever comes against them, Judas makes sure he's ready and that he always is trusting in the Lord. To link with verse 10, you can write down, we'll go back here a couple times, Psalms 55. Psalms chapter 55, verse 22, where we see Judas Maccabees, he demonstrated this with Psalms 55 and 22. He's a doer of the law, not just a hearer only. With Psalms 55 and 22, it tells you what, to cast your burden upon the Lord, he shall sustain thee. He should never suffer the righteous to be moved. So Judas, through his actions, demonstrates his faith in such a verse, in verses like it. Verse 11, and that he would not suffer the people, that he had, or allow the people that had even now been put a little refreshed to be in subjection to the blasphemous nations, right? So they already have a good momentum going, right? A good success with the Lord behind them. So let's keep that going, no matter what the heathen try to do, no matter how much they want to come against us, even if we do get to enjoy a little bit of peace for a time. Verse 12. So when they had all done this together and besought the merciful Adawan with weeping and fasting and lying flat upon the ground 3 days long, Judas, having exhorted them or encouraged them and edified them, commanded that they should be in a readiness. They did a 3-day fast. Sounds familiar, right? Of course, you can write down exactly. The link with verse 12, you can write down Esther, chapter 4, and verse 16. A key verse we go to show that fasting is not a diet people in the world like to call fast. Oh, you only eat this for a certain period of time. The scriptures know it's no food or drink for a certain period of time. It's 1 day, 2 days, however long, a week. In this case, they did it for 3 days. as Esther and her maidens did, right? For same cause, same reason, because the heathen were against us, trying to destroy us. They're doing it for the same reason here during the time of the Maccabees. So Esther 4 and 16, 3-day fast. See it there too. Reading on in verse 13, 2 Maccabees chapter 13, verse 13. And Judas being apart with the elders, determined before the king's host should enter into Judea and get the city to go forth and to try the matter and fight by the help of the Lord. So when he had committed all to the creator of the world and exhorted his soldiers to fight manfully, even unto death, for the laws, the temple, and the city, the country, and the commonwealth, he camped by Modin. Right? So now he's going to make a move. But before he did, he made sure he got his men, those who are fighting with him, got their minds ready. Right? Encourage them spiritually. Right? And we see once again, they're following suit what the scripture said aforetime, as far as fighting even unto death, that the Most High would defend us if we did. If we survive the battle, great. If we die in battle, fighting in faith, we obtain a better resurrection. So it's a win or win some more. We talk about dying for righteousness' sake. If they lay a hand on the prophets, or if they don't lay a hand on the prophets, it's good for us because we continue to do that work. If they lay a hand on the prophets, all they're going to do is give us a better resurrection, give us more glory. But as far as fighting to the end, you can write down Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus chapter 4, 14. Ecclesiasticus chapter 4 and verse 28. Ecclesiasticus 4 and 28, where it says, strive for the truth until death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. Also, you can write down Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 4. Another verse to help us put things in perspective. Because, we're tempted even now, but we know spiritually is life and death, and not to take these times lightly because, when it comes to the propaganda and the temptation, it's even though we don't have guns to our head or swords to our necks, the temptation is much more pervasive at a time like this, with all these different mediums through which sin is presented. But it's still not a thing of, okay, someone's like, yeah, you better do this or else. Our temptation is mainly here and in our environment, and the things that we see and hear and perceive through the other senses. But Hebrews 12 and 4 says, ye are not resisted unto blood, striving against sin. Right? So these men are literally resisting unto blood, not being pushed in the way of wickedness. So if it hasn't gotten that bad in these times, it could be a lot worse. It helps you to put things in perspective and say, you know what, I can resist when we are tempted. You could also write down 1 Maccabees 2 and 1. It shows you Modin should be familiar to Judas. It may even be, I'm just looking at what may be implied. He might even be encouraged where he's at position-wise. This is his hometown, remember? This is where his father was from, Modin, and his family. So you got the home court advantage, right? Like they say with the sports, you see the team that's playing in their home city, they tend to have, they fight with more vigor because the fans are there and they're behind them more, right? As opposed to being an away game. Doesn't mean that they'll win, but gives them that edge. But First Maccabees chapter 2 and 1 showing that that's where his family's from, Modin. And even you look at archaeology, they find they actually have the burials for where his family was buried in their grave sites. That was in Modin. You see that in the even in the Zondervan, it shows you what do you call it? Their burial site today, what it looks like. I can pull it up real quick. Modin. I think it's under Modin. It's either under Modin or Maccabees. Let's pull up Maccabees. I think it might be there. page 334. It says, remains of the tombs of the Maccabees at Modin. Put it up here for folks that are looking. Page 334 in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Do a visual. One of our key tools, right? There's a lot there. You'd be surprised. You check it out every now and then. So Zondervan, page 334. Let's continue on. Reading on, it says, 15, and having given the watchword to them that were about him, victory is of power or God. Right? So that was like their phrase that they said, right? Like, you'll have certain branches of military have like an expression, like we know with today's America, with the Marines, they have the Semper Fidelis, right? Which is always true. So different groups will have their little expression that they use to encourage one another, right? To encourage the morale of the troops, to encourage that camaraderie. So their watchword was, victory is of power of God. So to the Most High belongeth the victory, the success. It says, with the most valiant and choice young men, he went in unto the king's tent by night and slew in the camp about 4,000 men and the chiefest of the elephants with all that were upon him. Right? So when we read throughout the Maccabees, we see, and Esau keeps us going, he likes to hunt by night, right? Even his forefather Esau tells us in Genesis he would be a cunning hunter, right? Even when he goes to war, he'll implement that, fighting by night. So Judas was no stranger to using this technique himself, right? If it works, why not use the same method against your enemy, right? You could just link this, verse 15. We already read it, but you could link 13 and 15 of 2 Maccabees with 2 Maccabees 8. 2 Maccabees chapter 8, verses 5 to 7. Where you see Judas employing this nighttime tactic, fighting the enemies at nighttime. 2 Maccabees chapter 8, verses 5 to 7, and that links with 13 and verse 15. I'm going to repeat it, don't worry. So with verse 15, 2 Maccabees 13, you can link 2 Maccabees 8, 5 to 7. We see him employing attacking the enemy by night. Reading on in 16, it says, and at last they filled the camp with fear and tumult and departed with good success. 17, this was done in the break of the day because the protection of the Lord did help him. So while you employ strategy and tactics, the thing is ultimately seen through by the Lord being behind you, right? So when we trust in the Lord, we just don't do any old thing and say, the Most High has my back. We still employ strategy, right? We still employ tactics for whatever it is that we're trying to do, right? Whatever desire that we're trying to accomplish, right? We do the best we can with our own mind, what we know about ourselves and what we know about the enemy. And then we ask that the Most High bless that plan or show us another way if that's not the way he wants us to go. We see Judas doing that. Yeah, nighttime tactics. Like they always, they made a movie about it when they allegedly caught Osama bin Laden, 0 Dark 30, right? You see them run up on him in Afghanistan with the night vision goggles. Yeah, we got him. We sprung the trap. So yeah, you could be attacked by night too. Reading on in verse 18. Now, when the king had taken a taste of the manliness of the Jews, he went about to take the holds by policy and marched toward Bethsur, which was a stronghold of the Jews, but he was put to flight, failed, and lost of his men. So this particular section here in verse 19, as we go down, is going to mirror throughout this chapter. It mirrors with First Maccabees 6. You can link up the events of 19, where Antiochus V tries to attack him here. You link it with First Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 31. That links with verse 19, where goes to that same history. First Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 31. To link with verse 19 once again. So Judas and his men, they've got the home court advantage. Right? He launched that fight at Modin. Then they're protecting Jerusalem and the temple. They've got the key city. So that's what the Greeks and the Antiochus V are trying to come back at. It says in verse 20, but Judas had conveyed unto them that were in it such things as were necessary. So he's communing with those in Bethsur, making sure that they're up to date, they have the right information, so they can be ready for the enemy from the direction that they're coming and the methods they're going to use. But once again, verse 21, as you have in war, it says, but Rhodicus, who was in the Jews' host, disclosed the secrets to the enemies, wherefore he was sought out, and when they had gotten him, they put him in prison. So there was a spy amongst us, right? Someone was trying to sell us out yet again, this guy. He said, yeah, let me give them the layout of the land, show them the way they can get into the city. So when they found out that he was leaking information to the enemy, they said they locked him up. So you got to watch your own, right?
300 movie, remember?
Oh yeah, the humpback guy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Come. Say they locked this brother up because he was releasing secrets, right? Because remember, in any type of battle, whether it's physical like this, mental, spiritual, you have to have knowledge of the enemy, right? If you have knowledge of the enemy, you're fighting blind. Like for this walk that we walk, that Paul talks about, we're more than conquerors. If we can win this battle of the soul, we have to have knowledge of our enemy, Satan. We can't be ignorant of his devices. We have to understand temptation and the forms that temptation comes in. And we're given tools to understand that through Christ himself being tempted. We have that. And then Christ giving us the parable of the sower and the seed, that being a key parable to give us insight into the enemy, which is Satan, for that spiritual war. So if we don't have knowledge of this, we'll succumb every time. We'll fall every time, right? And then with that knowledge, you can still fall. If you don't do the right thing, you don't resist when it does come.
Jeremiah 5:26.
To link with 21?
The sellout.
Gotcha.
Jeremiah 5:26. For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap. They catch men.
There you go. That's right. That's wrong, but that's right. That's what you have.
Always a Judas around, right?
Mm-hmm. Somehow, some way. Trusting in the Lord isn't enough, right? Easy to doubt. Oh, well, I don't swear. Where's the Lord at? Or I don't know. Why is he got to be in charge? Why can't we be in charge? If we even saw going back to the wilderness, right? When we first came out of Egypt. We didn't trust in the Lord then. People had problems with Moses and Aaron. They're like, we'll put y'all in charge. You guys are beside yourself, right? Both sides dealing with us too. Like, so they rent their clothes like, Lord, what are these people doing? So it says in verse 22, the king treated with them in Bethsur that second time, gave his hand, took theirs, departed, fought with Judas, was overcome. So they lost again at the regrouping. Verse 22, you can link it with the First Maccabees chapter 6 as well. but verse 49. Once again, First Maccabees 6 and 49 to link with 22. You read chapter 6 pretty much towards, throughout from that time going down, it's going to say pretty much what is said here, but just here it's kind of condensed as far as us fighting against the heathen and their rulers and what they did between each other after the losses. So I'll read 22 again. The king entreated with them in Bethsor the second time, gave his hand, took theirs, departed, fought with Judas, was overcome. Then they're going back and forth trying to fight us here in Bethsor, which was close to the capital of our country. Then they went back to Antioch, which is over there in Asia Minor in Syria, where their headquarters was, that part of the Greek dynasty, the Seleucids. 23, heard that Philip, who was over the affairs in Antioch, right, because Antiochus IV put him over the affairs, but then he had Lysias watch over his younger son Antiochus V until he became. He had attention even there, right, with Philip, who was left over the affairs in Antioch, was desperately bent, confounded, entreated the Jews, submitted himself, and swore to all equal conditions, agreed with them, and offered sacrifice, honored the temple, and dealt kindly with the place. So now, once again, with the Greeks, they flip-flop, right? First they're like, okay, peace, 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 and then they see the glory, the wealth, the riches. Heck with that peace, heck with our agreement. I want it for myself. I want what the Jews have. Right? So you see this back and forth as you read this history. So it should be a teaching tool for us, right? So we understand our enemy, physical enemy here, Esau, namely. So with verse 23, you can link First Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 23. First Maccabees, chapter 6, 55 to 56, you can link. Dealing with the same history. Reading on in verse 24, it says, and accepted well of Maccabees, made him principal governor from Ptolemais unto the Garanians, right? So even gave him a authority within the Greek rulership as that part of that brokerage to sue for peace. Now, let's see how the Greeks in Ptolemais, because remember this was part of the other dynasty. Because remember you read about that, the Ptolemaids and the Seleucids going back and forth, jockeying for power. Because after Alexander died, the two dominant empires out of his four were the Seleucids, which is the Antiochuses, and then the Ptolemaic dynasty, which was covering Egypt, right? We had a lot of resources there. So the people there, when they found out what Judas was given after Philip's agreement, came to Ptolemais. The people there were grieved for the covenants, right? Who's this man, Judas Maccabeus, a Jew, having authority over us? Oh, hell no. For they stormed because they would make their covenants void. There's a voided covenant, so we can write this down once again, like I was mentioning Psalms 55 earlier. You can link this with verse 25. Psalms chapter 55, verse 20. Where it pretty much says he put forth his hand against those that be at peace with him. He have broken his covenant.
Like the treaty with God,
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I think that's like a trending hashtag too. I think the honor the treaty, or honor the treaties. It says treaties plural. It's just like, yeah. You can write down also First Maccabees 6 and 62. Deals with this event as well in First Maccabees. First Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 62. Verse 26, Lysias went up to the judgment seat, Antiochus V's protector, right, because he's still young. His regent said as much as could be in defense of the cause, persuaded, pacified, made them well affected, returned to Antioch, right? So try to, quell their rage, their violence, and said, okay, look, here's what happened. Here's the situation that took place with us, with going to war with them. Look, we're better off at this time just to be at peace with Judas, all right? Let him have us a little bit of authority. We're still governing, but let's not make things worse. And we'll see how long this lasts for, right? So he had to go in there and smooth talk him, right? And say it's okay. Then it says that he returned to Antioch. So we're going to see what happens when he goes back to the to their capital city of the Seleucids. It says, thus it went touching the king's coming and departing. Right? So they didn't get us, thank goodness. So we had the home court advantage, we had Bethsor, we had Jerusalem. They wanted to take that, but we held them off. Blessings and power be to the Most High. It gives us the power to do so. But when we read chapter 14, we're going to see another figure of the Seleucid dynasty come into play. That's going to shake things up. And we'll see what Judas does as our leader in response to this. But one more link for 26. You can just write down verse 26. Hmm? Nope. I'm about to give it now. First Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 63. See, it's like I said, it's like reading Kings. You can connect a lot of things in Kings and Chronicles, things in Chronicles and Kings. Things in Ezra, you can connect with things in Nehemiah and vice versa because they describe the same history. So that's what you'll see. You're reading the Maccabees a lot of times. Okay, so we'll pause here. We'll take about a half-hour break, reconvene around noon, give or take. Feel free to stretch your legs, get something to eat. Obviously, it doesn't require heat. Get some sunshine if it's sunny where you're at. And we'll reconvene and go through the second half of the service, 2 Maccabees chapter 14, verse 1. So we'll talk to you there. All praises.